It's there.
I was just thinking about that. Welcome to Meat Pies and Shots 9. I'm Johnny Compton.
I'm Dan Tomlinson.
And we're going to shake things up a little bit this week and kick things off with a State of Origin review. Or preview.
Yeah, I was going to say, it hasn't happened yet, mate.
If you believe all these New South Welshmen, apparently it has all happened and they've already won.
Yeah, well, without any further ado, then, I support New South Wales in Origin.
I support Queensland.
So it's a nice little rivalry right here in Kingston upon Hull in England. Interesting squad selection. There's no surprises for the majority, but I suppose there was a couple of names from each team that you could say was a surprise. You know, obviously your Pongas, your Tedesco's, your Cam Munsters, your Nathan Clearys. We're all set in stone, and it's
Set in stone.
I'm swatting you up there. I'm adding him up there, and I'm obviously a Penrith Panther, so I'm buzzing that Nathan Cleary's involved in Origin. Cause
I'm buzzing he's playing as a Queensland fan as well.
He's a good player. He's a very good player. The problem with Penrith this year, he likes to be the dominant half, whereas Maloney does as well, and it hasn't been working. No structures with Ivan coming in. Last week, I know it was a poor game against Parramatta, and we'll come on to that obviously later in our Indigenous round review. But Nathan was allowed to be the dominant half. Best performance of the season from him. Is that a coincidence?
I think there was a lot of hyperbole and smoke blown up his backside about his performance, which was pretty bang average, if you ask me. He played all right. He didn't do anything. He wasn't a superstar, was he?
It was a poor game, wasn't it? It wasn't the best game. Penrith dug in. Clearly got him around the park. He set up one try, scored the other. So from that point of view, it was a good performance. I don't think you can deny him that.
But the way I see this with Nathan Cleary as well is I'm disappointed for him a little bit that they have picked him, because you look at he's a young kid. What was he, 21, 22?
21.
21. Yeah. That as a 7 has to guide them around the pitch, really struggling for form, really. Scratch. Although I'll admit it was an improvement against Parramatta, but he's struggling for form. You'll agree. He's playing in a team that's struggling towards the wrong end of the NRL. He's now going into the most pressurised game that they have in Australia. They see this as the absolute pinnacle, and it's the absolute pinnacle of rugby league currently. It's probably, from a commercial aspect, it's more significant than the international game currently. Whether that's right or wrong, it's the truth.
For me, England v Australia should be the pinnacle of the game.
I agree with you. But Cleary's going into this, and he's been asked to lead the current champions of State of Origin, as in New South Wales, around the pitch and be their dominant halfback and run the game. If they go and lose to Queensland, he will be hung out to dry as a 21-year-old. I actually, for his development and for how his career could potentially go, I think it would have been the best thing for him to miss at least game 1. To really look to build his form and go from there. Look at how Mitchell Pearce is perceived in the NRL. For me, Mitchell Pearce is probably the best number 7 in the NRL. Best all-round number 7. When you talk about an actual scrum half and with a kicking game and the way he plays and the way he gets his team about and as a leader. And he plays right at the line. Mitchell Pearce, because he played in losing Origin teams, is seen as not quite good enough.
Same with Adam Reynolds.
Yeah, well, Adam Reynolds is slightly different. I think Reynolds is mature. Well, the one thing you can say, and Adam Reynolds would have been my pick for New South Wales if I was picking their team. He'd have played 7 for me, simply because he has probably the best kicking game in the NRL. And
good job, Brad Fittler's the coach. Then.
Well, it does though. Adam Reynolds, particularly his short kicking game, and the 6 who they've picked, who I would have picked anyway.
I would have gone with Luke Carey, but unfortunately 4 to 6 weeks out of concussion, isn't it? But that's not to say Cody Walker's not a bad selection, because he's been outstanding. He's been an absolute freak in the NRL this season.
His running game is tremendous, and he runs that left edge.
Short kicking game's good as well.
That's the other thing as well by playing. I mean, Cody Walker's going to play on the left side, on the left edge,
and Nathan plays on the right, so that actually does help.
Yeah, it improves him. I guess it is poorer performance of being playing on that left edge.
Exactly. They moved into what they call the Fijian edge at the Panthers with Wacker Blake and Billy Kickout. It won't work.
Well, Wyatt Blake should have also been playing.
Well, he was on the right edge, and then they moved into the left. It's a big thing in rugby league, isn't it? You're either a left-sided player or you're a right-sided player.
It's a crazy thing. we'll go away from it a little bit from Nathan Cleary, and we'll start with the fullbacks. If we run through this now, they've picked Ponga of Queensland, and New South Wales have picked Tedesco.
That is an incredible battle, isn't it? Brilliant.
This is it for me, and I'll throw this out there. At this moment in time, Kalen Ponga is the best rugby league player in the world for me.
Outside of the Panthers, the two teams I insist on watching the most on my watchnrl.com account are Newcastle and Roosters because of those two players. You want to watch Roosters because you want to watch James Tedesco, you want to watch Latrell Mitchell. You watch Newcastle because you want to watch Kalen Ponga.
Well, they played each other this week, didn't they?
Yeah.
Interestingly, and
that was a great game.
You had a scenario where the Roosters were a little bit underdone. Carey went off early, and that really affected them. For some reason, they'd rested him.
Obviously, not Jake Franks injured.
Latrell Mitchell at 6 didn't work because he hardly carried the ball. But James Tedesco in a beaten team ran for over 200 metres.
Never stopped going, did he? It
was unreal. That being said, though, Kalen Ponga.
It was awesome. Johnny keeps going on about, every time I see him, he keeps going on about the try he scored when he absolutely burned Roger Tuivasa-Sheck a few weeks ago. But he did a similar thing at the Magic weekend as well, just that step. And ironically, me and Johnny coach a Cottingham under-9s team, and we've got a little lad. I'm not going to name him because I don't, you don't want to put pressure on these kids. He's called Declan. He's absolutely outstanding. His feet, and he wears a scrum cap as well. It's like watching little Kalen Ponga, isn't it? It's awesome.
But Kalen Ponga, that's the thing with Ponga, is it's not just that big left foot step he's got. He can go off his right step, off his right foot. He can swerve at pace. He doesn't lose any pace. He just comes, and he's tough as well, Kalen Ponga.
Well, he showed that.
Origin last year, he defended.
Well, about last week getting smashed by Jared, and
there's all that, but you can go back to State of Origin last year, can't you? And the fact that Queensland used him off the bench last season as their utility player. When they brought him on,
a little better.
He played 13. They brought him on and he defended in the middle of the ruck, played 60 minutes as a loose forward.
And they were much better side with Ponga in the team, weren't they?
Oh, absolutely. And he didn't miss any tackles. He can put himself about. He's deceptively strong.
Well, all these young lads are. We see it in Super League all the time. If you're not 6'5" and 18 stone, you can't play rugby league. That's a load of bollocks. Look at Luke Carey in the NRL. He looks like a fragile young little kid, doesn't he? But he's one of the toughest players you'll ever come across, and he's 6 stone, piss wet.
I say it all the time. Rugby league it's up here. It's
in your head and it's in your heart if you've got the bottle.
Yeah.
We've seen players at LFC that 6'6" and 18 stone, and they've got no bottle. Whereas you see, a young kid come in, he not. Doesn't look intimidating, as you look at him from a physical point of view, but, once he's got under you realise, and there's a lot of those players about right now. Damien Cook's another one, another little player, but he's so fast, and he's another tough little sod. So, for me, I like the fact that they can go away, these NRL teams, and they don't really care how big you are, and it doesn't really matter. Look at Ponga's stature, he's not the biggest, is he? But he's absolutely class.
Absolutely. Well, I've said there, right? For me, Ponga's the best player in the world. So
it's not a fair shout.
Who would you pick out of Tedesco and Ponga if you was picking a team?
Jesus Christ, Johnny.
No, I'd pick Ponga. Who would you pick?
That is a horrible question. I think right now, for the excitement factor, I would pick Ponga. That's not to say that Tedesco is not, obviously he's an outstanding player.
These Aussies are blessed at fullback, aren't they? Looking at that.
Spoiled, aren't they? Right now you'd go with Ponga because his like footsteps outstanding. He's pretty much scoring every single week.
There's a third one to throw at you as well, who's injured at the minute, but Tommy Turbo.
Tom Savojevic, another good fullback and a good player.
They are 3 unbelievable players, probably.
Yeah.
Right, moving to our outside backs here now. Queensland have picked Dane Gagai and Corey Oates on the wing, Michael Morgan and Will Chambers in the centre. Now, Michael Morgan is a halfback, really.
Yeah.
He's a halfback. He's a 7 who leads North Queensland around the pitch. Not in brilliant form either, I don't think. And they've picked him out of position in the centre. I know he's done a job there previously. What do you reckon to that?
Certainly, mate. He's going to be up against Latrell Mitchell.
Yeah. And they've probably picked
Latrell's
him there for...
absolutely love that.
They've probably... Well, will they play Will Chambers there? Will they play Morgan on the left edge?
Well, if you're looking at it as a lineup, it's Latrell v Morgan and Chambers v Morris. Yeah. I must admit, I agree with you. I wouldn't have picked Morgan in the centres, but they've got 2 very good wingers. Corey Oates is obviously a good player, very strong, very fast. Will Chambers has been there, done that. Dane Gagai always steps up in Origin as well, doesn't he?
I like Gagai as a centre. I think defensively he's good, and he'll still give you those runs out of dummy half like you get from your wingers. He'll still give you those tough carries, even playing in the centre. I would have brought in a form player who I've really liked this year. I'd have picked Edric Lee from Newcastle on the wing for Queensland.
Not bad show.
Massive, absolutely massive monster of a winger, but he's
7
also
foot
pacey. Yeah, pacey.
Strong, quick.
You have wingers of Corey Oates and Edric Lee. There's some decent size there to complement Caelan Ponga.
So put Morgan on the bench.
I would have had Morgan on the bench as my 14 as my utility because he can cover there. Do you know at a push? Can also come on in the halves. Ben Hunt isn't going to do 80 minutes at hooker, so Morgan he'll need spell in there. I'd have carried Morgan at 14. I would have done.
So super coach Johnny here, he disagrees with the New South Wales backline too, don't you?
I do, yeah.
Addo-Carr's a no-brainer. Latrell Mitchell's obviously a no-brainer. It's the other two, isn't it, you have problems with?
Yeah, well, they've gone with Nick Cottridge and Josh Morris. Now, Nick Cottridge is on debut and very good player, and he's come through the New South Wales system.
Yep.
Plays for Canberra for a long while, and he's a tackle bust machine. He's a really good player.
His rookie season was an 18-year-old, wasn't he? And he pretty much played week in, week out.
And then on the other end of the scale, they brought back Josh Morris, who is an absolute veteran, going all right, playing well. He's not a bad player, but the player he's come in for is James Roberts. Now, James Roberts has had some off-field problems, and that's been based around a fallout with Brisbane Broncos and with his new coach Anthony Seibold. Just this morning, before we recorded this, James Roberts has signed for South Sydney Rabbitohs to replace Greg Inglis effectively on the money that they've freed up there. Now, my issue, I would have still picked James Roberts in the New South Wales team, and my reasons are this, that it's not due to injury or form that he's not playing.
To a personal fallout.
It's due a personal fallout with Anthony Seibold. And yeah, he's gone off the rails a little bit, on the back of that, but it's an internal issue at Brisbane. And my other reason for why I would still pick James Roberts is that they brought in Josh Morris. Now, no disrespect to Josh Morris, who's a very, very good player. But if there was an outstanding young player, coming through, somebody who's been absolutely tearing up the NRL, knocking on the door to play centre for them, I'd have gone up to play right centre for New South Wales. I'd have gone, yeah, absolutely, he's got to play. But there isn't. And I don't think there was an outstanding alternative to James Roberts. No. So for me, you show a bit of loyalty and a bit of backbone, and you back the player. We're not privy to the ins and outs of what's going on. He might not be ready to play Origin. He might not want it to. Or the distraction of moving to South might have done it. It's just, if you're looking at it purely on a playing perspective, Jimmy the Jet would have played for me. And then again on the wing, I would have played Blake Ferguson over Nick Cottridge. Again, this is slightly different to my argument there, because I know I back the youngster, but Blake Ferguson, first half of the season, was one of the absolute form players in the NRL. He's got the experience.
Actually moved into the centre.
Yeah. So you play him on the wing. Again, and that's where you make the most of his talents. He's coming out of backfield. He does a tremendous job for whatever team he plays for. And Origin is notoriously hard and tough, and you need players like Ferguson. I'd have picked him, especially given that you're not going to get many yardage carries from Josh Addo-Carr, or if you do, he's not your block-busting winger, is he? He's your pacey speed try sniffer, and I think Blake Ferguson would have complemented.
Last year it was Turbo Tom, wasn't it? Tom Tavovic last year. Obviously he's injured right now, which is a shame, because that would have been his spot to keep if he was fit.
What do you think?
You made a point about Mitchell Pearce has sort of been ridiculed because he's played in previous failed New South Wales teams in Origin. Well, you can throw Ferguson in that category, can't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Some of these are tainted, aren't they, by previous defeats?
Exactly.
But you've got to think.
Ben Hunt's a prime example, but I think he's a good player.
I look at rep teams, and it should go more on form. It should be a reward for where you are currently.
But then where do you draw the line between a reward for form and loyalty from a winning team?
With the James Roberts, and that's it. And if there's...
He won Origin last year. It was part of that team, wasn't he?
That's where I would draw the line. I'd turn around and say, if there isn't an outstanding player in that position, really putting their hand up from a form point of view, then you stick with the incumbent and you go there. That would be my take on it. But if there is somebody sticking their hand up, then you've got to give them their opportunity, I think. Certainly in game one.
Well, I think Queensland have done exactly that, number 7. Dally Cherry Evans, when Mal Meningo was coach, didn't really. He fell out of favour, didn't he? He didn't get picked because Queensland basically had a no dickheads policy. But
well, there was all the stuff with the Titans,
Yeah.
wasn't there, that went
yeah,
on, and
obviously, he went back on the deal, and that was a very sour taste.
For those who don't know, Daly Cherry Evans, a good few years ago now, agreed a deal with Gold Coast Titans
Massive
in Queensland.
money.
Yeah, massive money to go there, be their star marquee player or whatever, and go lead them around. At the very last minute, they had a press conference call to reveal him out. At the very last minute, he flipped on that deal, re-signed with Manly Sea Eagles, and at the same time as he was supposed to be having a press conference with Gold Coast Titans, Manly wheeled him out. And
So it wasn't good, was it?
Yeah. And Manly are New South Wales heartland. Gold Coast Titans were obviously in Queensland, and the Queensland public took against him big time for a long period.
And he didn't get picked after then, but he seems to have matured a lot nowadays. Obviously, family's reform again at Manly, and he's playing well, but off the field, what you hear in the tabloids over there in Australia, what you see on a game day, how you see him interact with everybody else on the field, he seems a much more level-headed, grounded bloke now, and if he has done a bit of growing up, you've got to give that credit, and he's got his origin place back. I think he deserves it.
Form, he was the best seven, wasn't he? Until he got injured.
Yeah, exactly. He's playing really well, and Manly it's no coincidence that Manly's form dipped a little bit, and obviously they're still in the top 8 at the moment. They've still got a really good chance of getting a decent finish this year, but Cherry Evans will be a massive part of that. He deserves his origin place.
Cherry Evans in Game 3 for Queensland last year when he came in was superb.
Yeah, it was.
He ran the game, didn't he?
The origin was already done and dusted then.
But they'd won the first 2 games, hadn't they, New South Wales, but Cherry Evans came in for the 3rd game.
It was outstanding.
And ran that game.
Yeah.
And I think that's Queensland. I mean, you look at their halves there, Cam Munster and Daly Cherry Evans, I think they're really well balanced.
Well, I like Cam Munster. Again,
he's a running threat.
He's a running threat, but he's also a tough little sod.
Yeah.
He'll put his body on the line, good kicking game, good pass selection, like you say, good running game. He's just an all-round class player, isn't he?
Both of them, Munster and Cherry Evans, have a bit of spike about them, don't they?
Yeah, they've got a bit of mongrel.
And so you've got that with them two, and then you've got the finesse of Ponga out the back off them. I think it's absolutely tailored. Munster and Ponga down that left edge.
And you compare that to New South Wales. Cody Walker's obviously in great form.
Yeah.
We've already mentioned that. He's been in brilliant form for Souths. It will be a lot of pressure on Nathan Cleary. He'll be a fool to obviously deny that, but
this is where I see, though, that 100% I do, and this, I might be proved to be a fool here, but I genuinely believe Queensland have the edge due to how balanced their team is. Aside from...
everyone's done this with Nathan Cleary during his career, though. I wrote him off.
If New South Wales win, I think it will be Latrell Mitchell going over Michael Morgan. I think that's the whole...
New South Wales strike players are Latrell Mitchell, and obviously he plays on the same side as Cody Walker.
With Ado Carr as well and Boyd Cordner. That's going to be a strong left edge.
The right edge is obviously Cleary, Tyson Frizzell and Josh Morris.
I think that's going to be a bit more clunky, a bit more functional. Most of their good ball is going to go right to left, you'd have thought.
When you've got Latrell there, you go to Latrell, don't you? He's best centre in the world.
Yeah, and then Tedesco trailing out the back of it. There is some... I think you can predict a lot more what New South Wales are going to do compared to Queensland. I'd have loved to see them a bit more balanced with Lee on the wing and Gagai in the centre, but I understand why they've gone with Morgan. Queensland are notorious for being a bit more... I want to say... I don't necessarily want to use the word loyal, but you know what I'm getting at in terms of keeping with the incumbents and naming the same players. And by and large, they've done that. Again, they've brought in some new players into the mix, but all of them have been in and around the system for a while, haven't they?
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think though? If you had to pick two, you've got your choice of Munster and Cherry Evans, or you've got a choice of Walker and Reynolds. Who would you pick there? If you had to pick a pair as a pair, yeah. Well, as a pair, you can't just say, or not even Australia. If you was picking a team and you was given a choice,
Munster and Cherry Evans.
Yeah, this is where I'm looking at. But then we move into the forwards, and I do think New South Wales are very settled here. And in Damien Cook at hooker, they have the absolute trump card.
Yeah, exactly.
Who could at any moment in any game
just go.
Yeah.
And he did that in game 1. It was a cut break to Maloney, Tedesco, ball under the sticks.
Yeah. And then that could happen at any point in any game with him. That's the difference. Papali, though, for Queensland, has been really in good form for Canberra.
Yeah.
He's had a really good start to the year. He's led that pack. And then Who've they picked? They picked
Jai
Jai
Arrow.
Arrow as the other front rower there to start. Jai Arrow again for Gold Coast. Gone really well. Played a bit at 13 as Jai
Yeah.
Arrow, and I probably would have named him at 13. Doesn't make much difference. That it's a middle. They play the three
exactly,
middles,
yeah.
aren't they?
We've got Josh Maguire at 13, haven't we? So it's
Yeah.
effectively 3 middles.
If it was me, I'd have had Maguire on the bench just because he can probably cover at 9 as well at push. But you're splitting hairs. You look at the Queensland pack, Papali.
The packs are decent, especially the starting packs. You think the back rower, Boy Cordner, Tyson Frizzell, Queensland, Toulouse, Kafisi,
Their starting pack in particular, New South Wales picks itself. Clemmer and Vaughan at prop. Cordner, Frizzell in the second row, and Trebojevic. That could, more than likely, would be the Australian pack.
Yeah.
8 to 13 would probably be the Australian pack. Maybe Kafusi and maybe Arrow push it slightly off the bench. I know Maguire's turned up a bit. I think your starting pack for Australia would be there. And New South Wales,
certainly the back row and the 9. That goes without saying. That's not even up for debate.
The only thing what I'll say, I think Queensland have the better backs overall from what's been picked. And I think there's some star players you can throw like some Mitchell and James Tedesco into it and say, well, how can you say that? But overall, as a unit, I think Queensland have the better backs. I think New South Wales have the better forwards. But Origin, usually, everybody lifts the game. And it's a big leveler. That intensity level, and they all play with the raw emotion. I think the packs tend to cancel each other out, and it's individual brilliance. If there's going to be some individual brilliance from any of the forwards, it would be Damien Cook. But then you never know. Ben Hunt might absolutely pull something out. He's a very clever player, isn't he?
Yeah, he is, yeah.
What about the young kids on the bench then for
New South Wales? It's interesting.
Well, and for
Queensland.
yeah.
Well, it's sort of gone like for like more then by Queensland, Jack White and New South Wales. Players that can play in a couple of positions, they'll do a job. Cam Murray, good to see him. He's gone really well.
Deserves it, Cam Murray.
Really busy, loose forward for South Sydney. He's not the biggest, but he's a workhorse, isn't he? A bit like Victor Radley, who's actually 19.
Another one at a push could probably play now, Cam Murray.
Yeah, a push, yeah. Angus Creighton, very good, solid back rower. Fucking nut job with half a finger.
Interesting one, Creighton, though. That's the one where people have been saying not really being in the greatest of form for Roosters.
Played last year.
Yeah.
Loyalty comes in, like you
I
said.
get it.
Raise the game.
I agree. I don't really see... The one that you'd talk about maybe as an alternative would be Peachy or Radley. Now, Radley, you can't pick Murray and Radley on the bench.
No, I agree.
They're the same player, effectively.
Yeah, effectively, yeah. But it's either Peachy or Jack Whiten.
Do you think?
Jack Whiten, well, the sort
Yeah, I
of... It's
suppose
a
he can
utility
play
man,
both.
isn't it? I think, if you're going on form...
Back rower for me, Peachy.
If you're going on form, Jack Whiten, he's been outstanding, hasn't he, for Canberra?
As a 6, though, he's not going to play. He's not going to come on and play standoff unless there's an injury to Cody
He
Walker,
can
is
come on
it?
as players a second, maybe ball distributor in the middle later on.
They might use him as a lock, yeah.
That's what they did with Peachy last year. I think he played like 8 minutes in Origin 1.
Interesting.
Payne Haas as well.
You're not a fan, are you? And this
So that's a bit harsh. Not a fan. I'm just saying it was the better options out there.
Such as?
Well, come on, you're super coach.
Well, the only other front rower that I'd sort of look at and I thought about was Jordan McLean. Now, I would have had Jordan McLean in my 17 if I was picking New South Wales, but it would have been instead of Jack White. And I don't think you necessarily have to carry that utility so much.
If you're looking at last year, Wolves missed out. Regan Campbell Gillard, obviously you can't throw him back in there, so he's been shocking this year. It pains me to say that. You are struggling to find alternatives.
Has McLean suffered because of the form of the Cowboys? Is that
potentially?
because he
They've been 4 in a row, aren't they? Cowboys are doing all right now.
What James Tarmow?
Well, if you're picking, if you're picking on form, it's probably the new Panthers forward. That's actually
But he has gone well, hasn't he, this year? And
Really
James
well.
Tarmow, whenever he played Origin, I always thought he went all right.
So he should though for what is he 6'6", looking 25 billion.
Well, this is what you talk about. Somebody like James Tarmow or somebody like Luke Keary.
Yeah.
The body shape, but rugby league's a game for all, isn't it?
Exactly.
So what about the kids on the bench for Queensland then? You got David Fafita,
Yeah.
not to be confused with the Wakefield David
Yeah,
Fafita.
the one that plays for Brisbane. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's been playing well this year. Likewise with his teammate Joe Offahangawi. There we go, nailed it.
Well, he comes from a dynasty of Tongan rugby league players, Joe Offering
I tell you what, I actually throw this out now. I think he's been better than Tavita Pangai Jr.
I agree,
this year. He's been I think he's solid.
You talk about Pangai Jr. though. There's somebody who
refuses to play Origin.
He's not playing in this Origin game because he wants to play for Tonga.
I love that though.
David Fafita on the Queensland side was also asked to play for Tonga and turned them down to play State of Origin.
Interesting, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Club mates as well. How they feel about that?
Dylan Napper on the bench for Queensland as well. They're going to use him as an enforcer. They bring him on.
It's an obvious selection.
I'd have started him because I like how nasty he can be early doors. But the 17 is the 17.
And then was his invite over Anthony Milford, over people like that. Empire's been good though, to be fair. He's solid. He's another tough player. He's a strong runner of the ball.
Playing fullback and played exclusively at fullback.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Whereas Milford could probably play 6 and 9.
You know my thoughts. I'd have had Morgan on that bench spot, in there, and I'd have brought
better utility option.
Yeah, I'd have done that. But I see why that if having Morgan in the 17, they want that utility. They want to cover all eventualities, and in the age of HIAs, it's understandable. So.
What about number 21, Cam Smith? Is he there just as a
mentor? Is what they're saying. Who knows? It's an interesting one. That Cameron Smith, the Australia and Melbourne legend,
referee,
has been called into the Queensland squad yesterday as player number 21. Now he's saying he's not there to play. He's there to mentor the likes of Ben Hunt and Moses Mbai and to work with them and to bring some of his playbook into it, some of his knowledge, and it might well be the case. Just seems funny. What if one of them came down with an injury?
To be fair, they did the same thing with Jonathan Thurston, didn't they, a couple of years ago when he went down?
It's making use of your recently retired players.
Well, he's been there, done that. Cam Smith is, obviously a legend of the game.
Do you think the game's moved on a little bit? Do you not think it has moved on a little bit though? The way the NRL's played. I'd have Damien Cook over Cameron Smith any day of the week.
You'd have Damien Cook over anybody.
You would as a 9, and that style of 9 is probably taking over. You look even in our game in Super League, where you Darryl Clarks and people of that ilk, they are having much more impact on a game than say Josh Hodgson is having over in the NRL for Canberra. And then the game goes in cycles, doesn't it? It's like teams go in cycles, and we'll come on to this when we talk about LFC later on. But teams go in cycles, and the game has, and I think the game's almost reached a point where that halfback hooker isn't as effective as he once was, because everybody's a bit more switched on and everybody's working, aware of the systems and knowing what's there. And you play the ball down and slow the ruck down, then you players on the outside do not have enough time to break through. It's just that simple for me.
Origin predictions then?
I think Queensland win game 1. I think New South Wales win game 2. And game 3 is anybody's guess now. I'm tipping Queensland. But
do you know what? I'm going to go Queensland to win game 1 and then New South Wales to pull it back to a 1.
Interesting.
It's always tough when you lose that first game to win an Origin. But hey, why not? Let's go for it. It's got to happen someday, hasn't it? NRL then, Indigenous round. We'll start with the Battle of the West.
We will get to Super League soon.
And obviously Penrith beat Parramatta. Let's just say, I looked back in on Saturday morning on the way to Liverpool with my Parramatta supporting father. He did not like it. I was like, well, you did the same thing on the opening round, so... I
think they dropped off the cliff a bit, Para, haven't they?
Yeah, they got smashed at the Magic round. Melbourne put 60 points past them, didn't they? They've fallen off the rails a little bit.
Michael Jennings is back this week, which is a plus for them. But Paula was having much more of an impact at the start of the year.
Yeah.
Junior Paula at prop. I don't really rate Reid Mahoney, the 9. Mitch Moses has gone off the boil as well. He was running the ball a lot more, wasn't he, early in the season? And they've had a lot of to-in and throwing at 6 of Para.
Yep.
I personally, if I was them looking at the players they've got, I'd play Bevan French, who's been playing...
Reserve grade.
He's been playing 6 in reserve grade and been tearing it up. So
yeah, I don't understand that, but I don't really care. Being a Penrith fan.
What about Penrith then?
Much more dogged than there's been in recent weeks. I'll give credit there.
Still clunky.
There's still some holes obviously, but defensively, it was just nice to see the desire and commitment in defence because that's been missing in recent weeks. And they did have to tough up. They did a lot of defending late on in the game. I know Parramatta didn't throw that much at them, but they still scrambled and they still dealt with what they had to do. So it is an improvement.
I'm not one for bagging players, but I tell you what, the number 9 at Penrith.
Oh, Katoa.
He must be the worst hooker I have ever seen play at NRL or Super League.
the Tonga hooker. No one knows what he's doing. He does kicks and no one's on the same
Superman
wavelength.
play every other play where he's just going for himself. If their tackle will go put a little kick through.
That's why I thought, Cleary probably just has a little bit more credit, because there were times when you're just thinking, give Nathan the bloody ball. And
I like you brought a young hooker on after
Mitch Kenny.
Played Mitch Kenny at 13,
didn't you? I'll tell you what, he's named in the squad again this week to play Manly.
He finished that.
Get him in.
Yeah,
get him in.
It's all right.
Katoa, you go on the Penrith forums after a game. They are interesting.
I was watching it and I was like, wow, what is this guy doing? You'd be going, I can understand that, because I'd be going mental if he played.
Yeah, it was not a good play.
When you talk about the game being up here in the head, he makes it. And do you know what? He reminded me of like a hooker version of Toyo Agoda from Castleford. That's how he was.
That's how bad he was, yeah. But on the contrary, nice to see Cleary pull out a win there.
Does Maloney play this week?
Yeah, but it's Maloney and Jerome Luai.
Right, okay. What happens if they go and rip it up?
Well, you give Cleary a rest, don't you? Do you want him backing up after next Wednesday?
Your New South Wales 7 then doesn't play.
It depends if you want him backing up. They're playing it obviously next Wednesday. Do you want him backing up on the weekend, or do you want to rest him? If they go well, Maloney needs a performance.
When is Origin? Next Tuesday?
Next Wednesday.
We'll see, won't we?
Yeah, it'll be very interesting. Maloney needs a bloody big game, and you always say he likes the dominant half. Well, you're going to be the dominant half now. There's no Cleary to get in your way. You've got Jerome Luai, he's a running threat. He's your natural, 5'8". So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. And obviously Manly are without Cherry Evans, due to Origin. So it'll be interesting to see if this was just a flash in the pan, or against a very poor Parramatta side, or if Penrith are actually turning a corner. Because let's face it, it can't get any worse, can it? The performances, that the New Zealand one was flat. The Magic round one against West Tigers was nothing short of horrific. So things can only improve. That goes without saying.
We'll see. Manly Gold Coast.
Good game, this. I enjoyed this one. Manly actually started it really well. They went into a 12-0 lead. Well, mates put on Twitter, Gold Coast are absolutely terrible, and they scored 2 tries just before half time and run away with it.
They're a funny team, Gold Coast, because
I actually tipped them to finish bottom, but like you'll say, they can be plucky and spirited one week, post some points on the board, then they're absolutely hopeless the next week. They're not going to finish.
They've got some players though. Yeah. They've got some players who are going really well. Brian Kelly is an excellent centre.
Another Indigenous player.
He's deceptively looks like another one who looks like he shouldn't really be a rugby league player. It doesn't look like you see all these big beefy rugby league players with biceps and
lats inside you, that counts.
Brian Kelly doesn't
you're
have
out in your head.
Cousin of Albert, I believe, as well. Yeah. Although most of them Indigenous players, that sounds real bad, but most of the Indigenous players are related in some way or other, aren't they?
You are a horrible human.
I didn't mean it.
No, you didn't.
It's true.
What about Tyrone Roberts? Playing for the Titans.
We never saw the best of Tyrone Roberts in Super League.
Statement, he was absolutely garbage.
I genuinely thought when Warrington signed Tyrone Roberts that he would lead them to a competition, because he was the halfback that they were probably looking for.
I actually said he was shite. That's one thing I got over you there.
I like Tyrone. I like Tyrone Roberts as a 7, as a dominant half. Do you know? He's scored a good try.
Kevin Brown at Warrington.
He wasn't, was he? And he wasn't really. He normally doesn't really get the opportunity to do it at Gold Coast. Taylor incident, the $1 million man, Ash Taylor, $1 million a season, absolute gash. Well, he isn't, but he has been this year.
Yeah, he's not gash. He's not.
He's not worth $1 million a year, is he? No, when somebody like Kalen Ponga's getting $600,000 a year,
that makes you laugh, doesn't it? When you think of it like that. What do we think of Dylan Walker back from Manly now? Obviously, he's had his
with the ball superb. Without it, he's a liability.
Interesting. He used to play for New South Wales, and there was a big cloud over him. There was he had an assault charge, then he had domestic violence on his girlfriend, and his girlfriend denied it. He's got away with it. There was a video on Twitter of it last week, and I was like, dearie me, some absolutely brilliant acting there. But what's done is done. He's back playing rugby league now. Like you say, with the ball, he was great. I'll give him that.
He was off the pace without the ball. You could get round him, and
he
overcommits.
Is that natural after not playing for for best squad?
Probably
8 months.
Well, he was an Australian international, wasn't he? At
one point,
his best rugby I always thought was when he was at Souths. Going back, he's he's a player who could be a superstar. If he knuckles down and grows up. We talked about Daly Cherry Evans earlier, didn't we?
He
growing
grew up.
and
Maybe he's got to do the same.
exactly the way it is.
This was an absolute cracking game. Knights and Roosters, 38.
I called this as well, before it happened.
Big crowd, great crowd.
They're the form team at the moment at Newcastle, and
they're fourth in the table.
My dark horses for the competition. I said to you, the semi-finalists, I reckon, definitely, and like final four.
Well, they're fourth right now, aren't they? So
it's just whether or not they can win a big game at the end of the year.
It works, doesn't it? With Connor Watson was outstanding. Mitchell Pearce absolutely ran the show. They got Ponga at one.
This is what you'll say though with Newcastle and this game in particular. There was a lot of emotion attached to it. The likes of Connor Watson and Mitch Pearce have been shown the door previously at Sydney Roosters.
Pearce in particular, he would have bled. He would have done anything. He would have bled. He would have run through a brick wall.
He was Roosters through and through.
Took a bullet, wouldn't he? He would.
And the bottom out on the back of Origin performances and the reputation he got for not being a big game player in Origin. So they got rid of him and brought Cooper Cronk in.
And then look at what he's done. He's been outstanding. Well, he was outstanding, wasn't he?
But they've won the comp. Have Roosters. Sit with Cronk there. So
on one shoulder.
There's an argument that they did the right thing. I think going to Newcastle has taken Mitch Pearce's game onto another level.
Well, absolutely. If you're going on current form, absolutely. Can't even argue with that.
And their recruitment has been superb. I mean, they picked up. You got to think 2 years ago they picked up Caelan Ponga from North Queensland Cowboys. Before he'd played a handful of NRL games.
He played about 10, didn't he?
And they spent what at that point was massive money on potential, $600,000.
Yeah.
On a potential with Caelan Ponga. Now you could double that, and you're probably still not going to get to what his market value is at the moment. So that was a smart pickup. Jesse Ramian was a really smart pickup, I think, this year. Mitch Pearce himself, but then they've got balance. Kurt Mann's now sitting at 6. They've got Watson now. Danny Levi running out. Danny Levi is. I think he picked up an ankle syndesmosis in this game, which will keep him out for a few weeks. But Danny Levi has started to really run the ball. SESA is getting limited game time because you've got David Clemmer leading that pack. They're going to be impacted by Origin this week in Newcastle, so I can see him getting turned over. But there's some really good players in that. Even the likes of Mitch Barnett. I was going to say Orbison there, but I mean Mitch Barnett has really stepped up and gone to another level. And then you've got Fitzgibbon, Lachlan Fitzgibbon on the other back row. Unlucky, I think, not to feature in the extended Origin squad. So I like Newcastle. I think there's some really good players there. People like Sione Matautia have been reborn there after missing. Well, not missing, but not featuring as much and not being as prominent in the game for a couple of years. And they're enjoying a bit of an Indian summer.
Yeah. Interesting that there's actually no game for Newcastle. There's only 4 games.
Got the bye,
have they? Yeah, it's Penrith, Manly, Parramatta South, Canterbury, Canberra, Gold Coast, North Queensland. The big talking point from that game for me was the hit on Ponga by Jared Warrior-Hargreaves, and the referee just went, "Nah, nothing wrong with that." I was like, "What? It was about 4 seconds too late." When did you draw the line between rugby league becoming the NFL? Because that was a joke.
It's not even that. It's the fact you've got a player as skillful and with as much quality as Caelan Ponga, and you've got to look after your ball players.
It was an absolute grub shot.
It was an assault.
It was. It was an assault. It was a disgrace. The game's tough enough.
He went off the pitch with blood coming out of his nose and his mouth. Off it, laughing because his team was 30 points to the good.
Yeah,
but it was
a bad one, wasn't it?
It was the nearest thing to deserving a red card that I've seen this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not some I like the biff. I like a tough game of rugby.
When it's necessary, that wasn't necessary. He'd already kicked the ball.
He kicked the ball. Ball had gone. The 30 points down.
And he even turned into it after the ball had gone.
Followed through, dropped his head onto him. It was horrible.
Moving on then, Warriors Broncos 8-2 win for Broncos. They'll be laughing at Cody Nicarima there, won't they?
Well, the Cody Nicarima is a good player, isn't he? But he didn't necessarily fit the Broncos system. I can see why they've got rid of the young kid they brought in. Oh, what's his name? The young 7,
ginger one.
Yeah, looks like a little Ben Hannon. Anyway, the young 7 that they've got somebody there. They've got lined up to play there. Nicarima, I never thought it was what they needed to play with Milford.
Milford's your runner, isn't he?
Yeah. So you need a steady. half back
7.
with you need a dominant half, you know, and to let Milford run from there. Nicarima was never really going to be that.
Yeah.
That being said, at New Zealand Warriors, that's what they're trying to use him as again. Although they've got Blake Green.
He's more
more organised.
I
think it's a move that suits both clubs, you know, at the end of the day.
I agree with that.
It was Broncos though. What do you think? Do you think they've got a chance of doing anything?
No.
Warriors haven't, because Warriors are so inconsistent.
Same with Broncos.
Yeah.
No. They might finish in the playoffs, maybe like
on the day they might shock one team.
Yeah.
They're not going to do it over multiple weeks, are they?
Raiders, Cowboys. 22-16 win for the Cowboys. They're doing alright, the Cowboys at the minute. They've, I believe they've won the past 4 games. Raiders are
still not in form, though.
No, they're not in form. They've had some favourable fixtures, that goes without saying. You know, they had Parramatta when they're out of form. Canberra, like you say, right here, right now, lost a few players to injury. They're struggling to get results on the board. John Bateman's returned this week, though. He's back in Canberra now, isn't he, after his fractured cheekbone.
They've missed him, haven't they?
Yeah. It's eye socket or cheekbone?
Eye socket and cheekbone.
Eye socket and cheekbone, Jesus. It looked alright in his pictures that he put on his Twitter page, didn't he? He had his glasses of champagne on his business class flight. He looked alright to me.
It's amazing what money does to you.
Oh, yeah, kid from Bradford doing that, yeah.
Kid from Bradford in a caravan. he will add to them. I mean, they've dropped off a little bit, haven't they, as you said, Raiders, but I think he gives them an emotional boost and it comes back. Still...
Well, they're playing Canterbury this weekend, aren't they?
Jack Whiten missing is going to be...
Against Canterbury, do you think it'll matter?
Well, they're going to have halves of Caesar and Williams, aren't they?
Yeah. Sam Williams, not George. That'll be next year.
Yeah, Sam Williams... Never... Again, Sam Williams was somebody who came and played in the Super League and never really cut it.
Yeah.
For me. He played a bit at Catalans, played a bit at Wakefield. Never really announced. He was a Matt Frawley style player for me.
Yeah.
Where I look at him and I go, not really. I wouldn't really fancy him at Martin. Bits and pieces, sort of halfback. I look at this, and who did you say Raiders have got this week? Canterbury. Well, they should be alright.
Exactly, they'll be fine. South West then, 32-16 South's win.
South's really up there. This is going against what I said at the start of the year, but my tip for a grand final is South's Newcastle. I think adding Jimmy the Jet into South's team as well. They've got a hell of a roster.
It's tough to predict. I'm still going. Well, I can't go with what I said at the start of the year because that was Roosters v Panthers. I'm going to go Roosters Rabbitohs.
Roosters Rabbitohs. Roosters will take some beating. Newcastle. You look at the way the league's lining up, and you could end up it could be very likely that you get a Roosters Newcastle semi-final. And I'd back Newcastle against the Roosters. I think they've got the number.
Interesting. Obviously, we've mentioned James Roberts' sign from Benji Marshall pulling back the years for West. Scored a great try in the second round.
Benji's
Benji, isn't he?
Yeah, he's been very good this year. And we've talked about this before, that Benji Marshall and Robbie Farah into the West Tigers team has transformed them and made them a potential playoff contender. Interesting for you Super League fans and particularly LFC fans. Mahe Fano was dropped to reserve grade for another indiscretion in terms of being late. I don't necessarily this noise is coming out of there that he won't get another deal.
No, he won't.
And this is the end of his 2-year deal and he'll be on his way. There was some talk about LFC picking him up. I think that's pie in the sky now. I think we've done our business, there in terms of what we're bringing in. It'll be interesting. He'll pick up a deal somewhere, Will Mahe, because he's got that cult following and he is a good player for me.
But where that'll be is obviously...
I think he's 10 kilos too heavy. He's heavier than he was when he played for FC, and he was on the heavy side then.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
So he seems to have lost a bit of mobility, and he's been skinned on the outside a couple of times, particularly playing in the centre.
He's not fast, is he?
I always thought his best rugby for Hull FC was playing on the wing rather than in the centre, because it's the most difficult position in
first year at centre in 2016. He was outstanding.
He had a prime Sika Manu inside him. That makes a huge difference.
Absolutely.
And he was outstanding with the ball. I don't think he was necessarily outstanding without the ball. And he was much fitter then as well.
Yeah, he was.
Much fitter than he is now.
Just unreal in the air as well. But yeah,
West Tigers though. Just want to mention David Nuffaluma coming back.
Oh yeah,
filling his spot. Yeah. David Nuffaluma. He's
been reserved for weeks.
Yeah. just bided his time and bided his time, and he is for me an absolute superstar. Came in and took my highest place, and I think
Yeah.
they'll probably run with that for now.
Yeah, I agree with that. Corey Thompson played well as well, so he's not going to get dropped. So, yeah, it's not looking good, is it? Bulldogs v Storm took the game to Belmore. 28-6 win for Melbourne.
Boring Melbourne win, wasn't it? Just bored them down like they usually do.
That's what they do, though, isn't it? They bore you to tears, but they get results.
The accountants who just run through it, and I was saying at the start of the year, I thought they'd just do it to everybody all season, but there's enough firepower now, I think, and you look at the likes of Ponga and the likes of Tedesco and the Roosters and the Knights, where I don't think they'll be able to bore these teams down, and Mitchell at the Roosters.
Yeah.
I think they've got enough firepower where if all they want to do is hang in there, sooner or later one of these individuals will do something special.
It's not the case because I can't stand Cam Smith. No one likes Melbourne.
No one likes the game.
Last but not least, St George Illawarra versus Cronulla. Wynn Stadium, Wollongong. It's something very...
You like Wynn, don't you?
Yeah, I like Wynn. It was, do you know what? It's the best ground I've ever been to watch a FC. It was outstanding. It was something different. You got your two huge stands. You got your open terrace near the seaside.
He's doing that because I'm the guy who paid to go to Australia and then couldn't go because of passport issues.
Yeah.
It's a common theme. Going to Catalans though.
Yeah, we're gonna. Can't wait for that, can't we?
Three-
We're definitely
Three
abusing that all
weeks.
inclusive.
All inclusive. You're going to get meat pies and shots from Lorette
When we're absolutely half cut. That's going to be funny,
maybe
that.
during Origin 2 or after Origin 2.
Good
There
shout,
you go.
that. Yeah, we'll watch Origin 2 in a little sports bar if it's still open. If it's not, we'll have to get the old iPad out. But yeah, it'll be should be a good one, that. But Sharks welcome back Matthew Moylan, who's obviously a big part of what they do.
You like Moylan, don't you, Dan?
Well, he's an ex-Panther, isn't he? It was, when I chose Penrith as my NRL club team to support, Royce Simmons was the main reason, because obviously his connections with Hull FC need no introduction. He practically saved us. And they've got, the NRL pundits, Greg Alexander, who's a big part of the Panthers, he won the premiership with them. And then when I started supporting them, they had people like Matt Moylan, Nathan Cleary coming from, Tyrone Peachy, and they were great to watch. They were a back-end finals team. They had, I think, a 6th place finish, and then another 6th place finish. So they weren't, pulling up trees, reinventing the wheel or anything like that, but they were bloody great to watch. They were outstanding to watch. What's happened this year now? It's depressing, but that's why
Ivan Cleary's happened, hasn't it?
Yeah, that's why I ended up supporting Penrith. I was gutted when Moylan went. And we got James Maloney, who obviously had a great first season at the Panthers, but his current whereabouts are obviously unknown this season, which is a shame.
He's heading for Leeds by all accounts. Leeds
they want because Jack DeBell's case is sorted now, isn't it? So
they've got the dispensation, 260 grand.
So they can put Trent Merrin, and then
if Trent Merrin can agree a deal with St George Illawarra, then James Maloney. I tell you what, Leeds would have very much the better of the deal there. I think he transformed Leeds.
I can get my Penrith shirt signed by James Maloney when the FC go to Leeds in July. Yeah, let's get that going, please, boys.
I think, in a lot of ways, I hope it doesn't happen because I do think he will make Leeds a much better much better team.
Hey, speaking of ex-Penrith players, Setafeki
Akuola.
That is it on Scott Taylor, and that Warrington Hull game was absolutely frightening.
Yeah, absolutely. Playing on the wing.
What was he doing on the wing?
Picked up a couple of knocks, didn't it? It was a good shot.
It was mental.
Quick mention though for the Dragons Sharks game, James Graham playing with a broken leg. Continued playing after breaking his tibula, was it?
Fibula.
It's
an absolute
one of them.
Yeah, one of them. And it don't even matter. The point's still valid.
Came back on, tried to come back on at the beginning of the second half, ran out and was like, yeah, it's not right. Anyway, went for an X-ray. Turns out he broke his leg.
Absolute nutcase, isn't he?
Now and I was all set to. I was primed to give him a bit of stick in this meat pies and shots before I had this, because I genuinely think his performances this year have not been at the level as what they used to be, James Graham. And I'd say...
is he getting on a bit now?
Yeah, he is. And I'd say in Super League, we've got some much better prop forwards than him at the moment. When you talk about Liam Watts, Alex Walmsley, Luke Thompson, all in better form than James Graham. And I think, along with Tom Burgess, those three are probably the premier for British props. And I have no doubt that if he's fit, Great Britain will pick James Graham, and I just don't necessarily think that that's the right way to go.
For me, if Liam Watts misses out, it's not good, is it?
There's been some talk in the Australian media that Graham has looked to pass first and run second, and his run meters have been shocking, really, and the amount of hit ups he's actually physically.
He sort of revolutionised that forward role when you took the ball to the line and passed it out the back, didn't he? Yeah, maybe he's doing that so much.
Which is great when your team's winning, I think. When you're on the back foot, and he's playing in a St George team that's not been that successful so far this season, and what they've needed is for him to roll his sleeves up and carry him forward and set a platform, and I don't think he's necessarily done that. Whether it just needs a slight tweak of his... Well, he's going to have some time to refresh himself. True. Anyway. He's going to miss probably 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And then come back.
6 weeks till it breaks, isn't it?
Well, back
until the break heals. Anything else on NRL before we move on?
No, I think we covered most of NRL. Hopefully, we've neglected the NRL recently, so we thought
we did it in sole parts, and silly Billy didn't upload
it. What you also have as well is you have a situation where we're being a bit disillusioned with Magic Weekend for obvious reasons. Yeah. So we thought we'd start with some Origin, hit some NRL, and then we'll finish on the low.
Put a disclaimer out there: if you're one of these weirdos that don't like Australian rugby, just click the 50-minute mark and. You'll hear us speaking about Super League, the Magic Weekend, and now we've just hit bang on 50 minutes. So there we go. Take it away, John.
Start with Wakefield Catalans. I tipped Wakefield. I thought they'd have too much for Catalans, you know. I thought Catalans would have one eye on this Thursday, which is the Challenge Cup quarter-final.
Yeah.
And maybe they did.
Well, they did because they rested Sam Tompkins. Well, they didn't rest him. He was injured.
McIlroy and Tompkins both could have played at
push. Similar to all with Danny Allen.
Yeah, and they've left them out, but they found a way to win, didn't they? And they didn't. Yeah, it was a gritty game, I guess, and there was typical Catalan tactics, and there was a bit of shithousery.
But I tell you what, I love the fact that their side now has got a massive core of Super League French players that are good enough to play in the competition. And you think one of those French players, Tony Gija, he won them the game.
Well, he's their best player, isn't he?
He won the man of the match, and also nice to see him donate that to Janssen Tergio.
Absolutely.
For any Aussies or people watching that don't know, who've been living under a rock the past 2 weeks, but Janssen unfortunately fell off a 3-story car park in a Ibiza. Loads of facial injuries, head injuries. He broke both his legs, hips. He's got breaks in his arm, hand, his spine as well. He's not in a good way, but he's battling well. He's been responsive. Apparently, he's trying to jump out his bed now, Madgett. But obviously, it was nice to see Tony Gija donate that match fund to him. Obviously, me and Johnny both wish that he gets well as soon as 100%. Possible and gets back on his feet. And then every time you get an update in the local media or from his
seems to be positive.
Exactly, it's getting better and better. He's a fighter. He's a tough lad, and we send our best wishes to him.
100%. On Tony Gigo though, he's their key man, isn't he? When he's hot, Catalans are hot, and even when he's not, there's a risk with it. Do you know where you're always worried about him as a player, what damage he can do to your team, and he can always come up with a play. They're a good team, Catalans, and they're in third for a reason. I think it's a realistic position for them.
Best expansionism example in the Northern Hemisphere.
And the overseas players that they do bring in tend to be quality overseas players, like Sam Cassiano, Lee David Meads, Braden Williams. Yeah. They're all good players. Even to them, obviously, Sam Tompkins is an overseas player.
In the past, people like Scott Giroux. At the very start, they had Stacey Jones.
He's another guy doing it tough at the minute. It's Scott Giroux. So you gotta. I saw something from Leon Price where he put a nice tribute out about Scott Giroux. Those who don't know, Scott Giroux is currently suffering with a form of brain cancer, I believe, and
horrible.
I don't know. I believe it's terminal, but he's battling against it and doing his very best. So again, we send our best wishes to Scott Giroux. Catalans, though, they're a club that do a lot of things right. I think lots of people don't like the way that they play. They're a bit. It's a culture thing in France, a little bit. They've embraced the Catalans culture. They play to win.
Yeah.
If you was a Catalans fan, you wouldn't care what anybody else was saying.
I'll say this about all.
Yeah.
I literally couldn't care how they win as long as they win.
I thought Wakefield were a bit naive. Thought Jacob Miller didn't take over the game enough. Had Danny Bruff been playing, I think Wakefield win that game.
Yeah,
I'll put that out there. But again, they're another team, do things the right way. They're going the right. The Poly situation, I find a bit strange.
What, getting Junior Sow in?
Well, it's not even the Junior Sow thing. they've basically sent him out to Salford, haven't they? And they've freed up and they brought another
forward. Island in.
Yeah, another Ireland forward in.
Tangan Noah or something like that.
Polly was always one of their major threats. He was somebody you worried about when you played Wakefield. I think they were a less threatening
for
team.
10 minutes and went the 10 metres from the line.
I don't think it's for 10 minutes. He used to play 60, 70 minutes.
When did you notice him? It's a bit like David Fafita, the
Wakefield
version.
He came alive.
He comes into line when you'll get into the red zone.
But how much of that
guys don't want to know.
How much of that is coached? You're told you're a weapon. We've got other players to do the grit and the tough. And
that's fair.
The toughness.
Yeah,
it's horses for courses. He's told you come alive when we're close to that line. You're our strike player to get us over there. Don't bend yourself out. We do it. We do it at under nines. With certain players, you don't want them to take an early carry. You want to use them closer to the line and get them over and go through. Sure. It's the nature of the game.
We'll skip the next game, yeah.
Right, I'm going to say one thing. Hull FC, Huddersfield. And I put it out there on Twitter yesterday. I'm going to say, people was asking, is Lee Radford the right man to turn things around for Hull FC? Should they give him a new contract? I believe we've already given him a new contract. Otherwise, we wouldn't be signing players on his say-so. However, I said 100% is the right man for the job. This team that we have is coming to the end of its cycle. I touched on this earlier in the show. Every team has a shelf life for me, and I'd say it's 3-4 years usually. And at the end of that 3-4 year cycle, you either need to change a large core of the playing group, or you need to change the voice that the players are listening to. And I've heard on this before with Dan. I've spoken to him, and I know Hull FC, that is, at the start of last year, had Brett Hodgson lined up to come in as an assistant coach, and he got the offer to go to West Tigers as an assistant coach, and we released him. And because we recognised that we needed to freshen things up a little bit, and we petered out last season because the playing group was probably moving towards the end of it, but there was nothing available that would improve our squad at that point. We've identified at the end of this year, I think you'll see Mark Minicello, Sika Manu, Mickey Paya, Joe Westerman, Dean Hadley, Chris Green, all move on. I think you've then got Fatuli Talanoa, who's already gone.
Mm-hmm.
On the back of that, looks like we brought Josh Jones in.
Great signing.
Yeah.
Brilliant signing.
Looks like we're going to bring Adam Swift in.
I'm happy with that as well.
Yeah, no,
I don't mind that.
But a bit, and then the other three rumoured signings are Alex Glenn, Kane Evans, and Liggy Sow. Now you bring those three in.
And that's why I'm alright with Swift.
Yeah.
You've got to go big in the forwards.
Yeah. If we've invested our money in the forwards to bring quality in there, to then sign a 7 out of 10 winger.
Exactly. I'm fine with that.
It's good with that.
We've already got a quarter player in Brett Freeman as well on the other wing.
Yeah.
So that is completely and utterly the right way to go. And if that is Hull FC's recruitment, 3 big forward imports, Adam Swift, Josh Jones. Brilliant.
Potentially sorted our recruitment for next year.
Brilliant.
Already done.
Buzzing with that.
From there. And I'm happy with that. And I think that gives you a natural transition from there, where the team will transition over the. That's not to say that this year is over and done with. You also got to bear in mind as well, right? Andre Savelio has been brought in early. He's effectively signing for next year. I can see Andre playing 13 as a middle back rower next year. And also there is talk that at the end of the year, it's not definite that Ellis will hang his boots up again. He's looking at potentially going round again next year to not as a primary first 17 player every week.
Someone who can come in now and again
and play and lead this team and guide from it, particularly when you've got a core group of new players coming into the squad who you're never certain how they're going to settle and how it's going to go. So somebody like Gaz could be invaluable next year. He might not play all that much, but then he might play quite a bit as well.
Yeah.
There's plenty to play for till the end of the year. I turned around and said we're
still fourth.
We're fourth in the league and we're
final of the Challenge Cup.
Exactly. Until that changes, I'm gonna use a John Kay statement here. I'm not gonna throw my toys out of the bath.
Yeah. Well,
or the baby out of the bath.
These big defeats, 55-2, 62-16, 63-12 over Silter Warrington and St Helens, are not acceptable. They wind me up. They're not acceptable. They get under my skin. But it's one game, or in this case 3 games. Hull FC have won 9 Super League games out of 16. They're 9-0-7.
Well,
That's not catastrophic. They've had some, flipping good wins this year of Hull. And they're still right up there. On the day, You get everything right, everything clicks, all can beat anyone in that competition.
We've shown we've got the ability as well to draw a line under these results.
Yeah, exactly.
That they don't impact us long term and we can move on.
The Warrington one, we won 3 games after it. The St Helens one, we ended up beating a very good Wakefield side convincingly, 30-14. You know, that's a comprehensive victory over a playoff rival. We've done it. You know, even the cup winning year in 2017, we had 3 defeats. You know, these margins, 45-0. So 50-point defeats back to back at home. But we responded from them. So
you get our first 17 on the pitch.
Yeah.
You've got to remember as well, right? It was a freak result away at Warrington.
Yeah.
And we turned up with a similar squad against Huddersfield. And I don't want to say they weren't red hot, but
we were playing okay.
There were reasons. Yeah. The big thing for me with this game, and I'm going to say this, then I'm going to move on from it because it did my head in, was it started and it ended at 9 for me. Mm-hmm. And with Danny Washbrook and Dean Hadley at 9. And by providing the level of service, if you want to even call it service, that they did, and the performances that they chucked in there from Hooker, which I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. It's not their primary position.
The back rowers, but they made an absolute car crash of the role.
So what they did, what then happened was all the confidence in the players stood up first man disappeared. The delivery was slow. So our execution was slow across the board. So even when we were on the front foot early on in that game, we weren't able to take advantage of it because Huddersfield were just able to wedge in on the outsides, umbrella defence, and crush it all. Yeah. And so our halfbacks had nothing to play with. Our forwards were against it's fine margins in Super League, right? Every club is a professional club with excellent players, whether we like it or not. And we don't have a divine right to beat anybody. And if we get something fundamental like they play the ball wrong, then you're not going to get any momentum at all. At all. Liam Moore didn't help the situation, but he was equally poor for both teams. It was just a bad day at the office. Draw a line. If we lose on Thursday, I'll have something else to say. But
Huddersfield, what do you make of them?
They're all right. They're overachieving for me. They're a bottom 4 Super League team.
I said to you, how the hell have they won 7 games this year? Am I living under a rock here?
They've got a very good coach, and what they do have is they have good shape. They play out the back so very well, and their systems are good, and that comes from being coached and coached into them and where they are. And I think if teams are off, they're always at a similar level where they can take advantage of it. You know, they'll certainly go for enough shape at somebody that will cause them problems. Mm-hmm. And they do have some tough, gritty forwards in there as well who will dig in. So if teams are off, they'll get them. And I think whenever they've won, it's probably because somebody else is off. If you get everybody at 100%, they're very much a bottom end team. That's not to be disrespectful because they are consistent. Yeah, that's where they are.
Wigan, Warrington, Blake Austin had his moment of obligatory magic.
There's something really bothering me about Blake Austin. There's something really bothering me. It was a good try, but he's one of these players who I dislike. He's not lighting up the competition for me in a positive way where you want to. Right, you talk about Newcastle in the NRL, and you've heard me talk about Kalen Ponga and where it is. Whether it's because I've got an emotional vested interest with Hull FC, I don't know. But I look at Blake Austin. I'm not excited to see him. I know he's going to do something. I find him a bit grubby, a bit unnecessarily antagonistic, and he almost seems to play the game where he's got a divine right not to be tackled and things like that. I don't know.
He's just a bit of man, Johnny.
Well, I think Warrington fans pissed me off, to be honest, after we beat them. It was everybody else's. They had a right go at James Charles saying, we beat them because of James Charles. James Charles had an exceptional game again in the whole V1.
I didn't notice James Charles.
No, exactly.
He only gave I think it was about 6 penalties all game. Yeah. It wasn't a lot, was it? It must have been single figures.
I thought he had a really good game. The only refereeing decision in that Warrington Hull FC game that I didn't agree with was when Jake Connor got sin-binned, and that was because Robert Hicks got involved as a touch judge and sin-binned him on the back of a replay in the ground that shouldn't be allowed to take place.
I tell you what, and there was a crusher tackle on Mickey Peer.
Yeah.
No video replay.
No, absolutely.
When the fights broke out, video replay.
Yeah, they were showing.
Interesting.
They know what they're doing there, Warrington, with that stuff.
On the social media.
Look, the second best team in the league at the minute. They are where they're supposed to be. That's where they'll finish the league. Will they win anything? Possibly. I doubt it though.
I like the social media. It's funny. I know Radford Spatty's done me out a little bit, but
yeah, well, I agree with you. I think what it does is it highlights how rubbish I've done this before. I've had a rant about our media team. You have, and it is where it is. It's woefully short of where it should be as a professional outfit.
To be honest,
and I actually think Warrington could take theirs a bit further and do things in the right way. I do look at some of it is based around negativity, and you base anything around negativity, you're going to struggle to get positivity out of it, or you run the risk of getting the response that you got.
Even when we tried those fun things, we get dates wrong. I remember Will tried to banter Rovers about a trophy win that December 1979. They got the month wrong, called it 1980, the year wrong even.
Because you've got people involved who weren't born when that was taking.
I wasn't born then, but I still know my history.
Yeah, well, that's your issue. You've got people involved who don't know their history because the club aren't prepared to invest in things like that. They don't necessarily see the value. That's where we've got people learning on the job. James Clark is undoubtedly has Hull FC at his heart. Has done a good job for Hull FC with a lot of things, but he's been, and you'll find this in most walks of life. People get promoted beyond the capabilities and then learn how to do the job, and it's how they develop and learn at that stage.
So James Clark negotiating contracts now.
Yep.
Okay, right, yeah. Wigan.
You think Wigan are
they're only 2 wins off the playoffs, and right, history. I'm only 27 years old, but even in my time on this planet, I've learned not to write Wigan off.
They haven't got the halfbacks to do it.
I'm not saying they won't. I'm just saying
they haven't got the halfbacks.
They're only 2 wins away.
On any given day, they can beat any other team, though, as well. I'd say that. With the exception of maybe St Helens.
They should have won the cup game against Warrington. In fact, they were robbed from doing so. The incident with Thomas Lowe, there was nothing wrong with it.
You say that if that tries given, and you've got a whole different set of circumstances.
True. Yeah.
I get where you're coming from, though. They were the better team on that.
Yeah, because it's so early in the game, anything can happen after that.
They were the better team on that day.
Could argue that it actually spared them on that decision.
They still have that inbuilt Wigan-ness about them, don't they? A lot of the players, I'd say it's a Sean Wayne.
That's a great silver that Wigan-ness.
They do. They have that inbuilt Wigan-ness about them. That's brought through from a. It's a club who I admire the way they run their youth setup in conjunction with their first team and everything like that.
Cityville Academy.
See you later.
Good riddance.
But Wigan, I don't think they'll make the playoffs. I think they'll finish 7th. There we go.
Interesting. Salford versus Rovers.
Salford are hit and miss, aren't they?
Game of 2 halves. That big cliche there. Rovers were winning at half time. Salford came back. Jackson Hastings decided to run the ball more. It wasn't enough. Ended up getting beat 22-20.
It surprised me, that they didn't. They seemed to have a game plan centred around playing steady in the first half. Did Salford, and they have. I don't get it.
Hastings
and with
the
way Rovers have played as well, and the defensive frailties that they've displayed over the course of the year, you'd expect them to go bang at them, and they didn't. And when they did, they got them.
Yeah.
That was again. I watched the game, one eye on Josh Jones. Thought Josh Jones, he looks a really
player. Good. He's just a workhorse. He's so strong and fast.
Put him outside of Sneed as well. With
left edge.
Carlos Tubabavi outside of him, or Josh Griffin. It's like
we're all next to you. Can we have him now?
Well, there is. I think for out there, what I've heard is that Westerman to Leeds is agreed, but we will only allow it to happen if we could bring Josh Jones in early.
Or someone else.
Or someone, one of the others, which I think looking at who was signed.
That New Zealand person who he's only played 4 games this year.
Wiggy Sow?
Yeah.
Possibly.
Who knows? Rovers, Craig Hall man of the match again. Nice to see him donate the fund to Ramsden.
Have they signed him up for next year yet? Is he another one
Craig
on the market? I don't think they have, They've got some interest. Right, I wanted to talk about this.
Ryan Shaw, they haven't re-signed him.
They've told Ryan Shaw he's not getting a deal, right? And listen, this is my take on this. Hull KR, I've mentioned a couple of times here, I've got a Rovers mate, we'll talk to, and he's absolutely going mental at the minute, and he's quite rightly so. They've sent Junior Vivai and Will Oakes on loan to York, and he says he's not really got an issue with that. Junior Vivai's been a bit out of form, and it might do him some good. He says he'll absolutely kill it at that level, and he'll come back, nice and refreshed, and hopefully
point to prove.
Yeah. But he's looked at it, and they're both contracted for next year. They will be OKR players next year. Yeah. So they've gone to York.
Mm-hmm.
Yet they've kept Ryan Shaw, the playing in the 17 above him, who's already been told he will not get a contract next year. Yeah, exactly.
Question marks, that's a bit baffling to say the least.
It's strange, isn't it? There's strange goings on there.
What about the Chris Atkins situation where they play him on average about 10 minutes a game?
You listen to other people, and Atkins done for Wigan, so nailed on for Wigan to play there.
What, as a 7?
He's going to play next year with, there's a name. There's a named halfback. Anyway, Atkins going to be one of Wigan's halfbacks next year.
Interesting.
Apparently. The excuse for... They didn't even bring him on in this game. And their excuse for not bringing him on was they had worries about Danny Maguire, about his fitness. And they already had... Sean Lunt was on the bench to spell Danny Addy at hooker. Mm-hmm. So Chris Atkins was only named on that bench for the eventuality that Danny Maguire broke down.
What the friggin' hell are they doing? Well, they won the game, but...
In spite of themselves, I thought.
Moving on. Leeds, London. Yeah, I was gutted about this.
Championship game. Championship quality game.
24-22.
Old Fatfoot had a right mixed bag, didn't he?
Hey, what about Fatfoot scoring 4 tries?
Yeah, we had said about that last week.
Yeah, I just thought I'd mention it again.
Every dog has its day.
But I just loved it when talking about you, John.
Look, he has all the ability in the world, and he could have dragged them out of it here. It was frustrating that he came to life after 65 minutes, and scored a good try, created another one, but he kicked the ball out of the full a couple of times. He came up with a couple of defensive misreads. He'll look back on that game himself if he's an honest enough kid, and he'll turn around and say he should have done better. Leeds are garbage. How they managed to... Harry Newman dived over from dummy half. I had my doubts about that, and then they bombed another one.
Forward pass try.
Was it forward pass? I sort of think it came backwards out the hands. It pains me to say that, but it did. Yeah, I'd have been annoyed if it had been given against us, and I'd have thought it should have been given if it was for us. It was very much a 50-50 decision.
Just the bias with Leeds coming out now.
Yeah, let's leave that now. Saints, Cass.
Well, it was best team in the competition, aren't they? What can you say?
Johnny Lomax.
They're an absolute joy to watch. Yeah, that's something we agree on. Johnny Lomax is the best player in Super League. Yeah, I think he's 9th in the Man of Steel table.
He's only got 9 points.
Yeah,
he's lower than 9.
Just get it up now.
12, 13. He's below Jamie Shaw. Johnny Lomax in the Man of Steel points.
What, Jamie Shaw, who had about 6 weeks out with concussion?
Yeah. Jamie Shaw has 10 points. So this was what I looked yesterday.
Well, it was more than that, wasn't it?
Jamie Shaw had 10 points.
There we go. So we've got Blake Austin, 21. David Fafita, 18. Lachlan Cook, 16. Jackson Hastings, 15. Stephen Ratchford, 15. Liam Watts, 15. James Roby, this is 7th place now, 14. Mark Sneed, 13. Danny Bruff, 11. Jamie Shaw, 10. Darryl Clark, 10. Johnny Lomax in 12th.
Yeah.
With 9.
And he's the best player in the competition by a
Hang on, so these are experts.
They're not, though, are they? I said this last week, right? It's not a prerequisite that you know everything about. To be a good rugby league player, to know what you're talking about.
Ellery Hanley, one of the best Great Britain players ever, undisputed. But he's been out the game that long. Does he know what he's talking about these days?
No. Surely you'd be better off with a coaching panel looking at it. Or there's enough ex-coaches out there, or coaches out of work. You can appoint.
Why not pick a short list? Yeah, like 3, 2, 1.
Just let the players pick.
And the players who played that game pick.
Or right here you go. We acknowledge that the guys currently employed as Super League coaches.
Yeah.
Are probably the best minds in our league at the moment.
Give them,
or just ask them each for a 3-2-1.
Yeah.
Every game.
Yeah.
A 3-2-1.
Yeah, that's a good shout. That. Yeah, like you say, how you can have Johnny Lomax with 9 and people like Stephen Ratchford with 15 is just makes a mockery.
They do video reviews as well of every game.
Yeah,
you could appoint
someone goes there to watch it live and then they do a video review.
You could appoint a Super League coach as part of the RFL. Could turn around and say to them, when you're reviewing that game, give us your 3-2-1 as to the best players. You'd get. I'm telling you, somebody like Johnny Lomax would run away with it. But
they would.
Interestingly, just want to touch back on Warrington Wigan. The one thing I didn't mention, Stephen Ratchford missing for 4 months is massive haul for them. It's like, and that's why I do still think they've got enough, where they'll finish second, but he's a big miss. If they don't get him back,
but we'll have 4 months, that is literally playoff time, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, he's going to miss, he won't play any Challenge Cup, will he?
No. Well,
So
no, 4 months now, middle of September. That's literally when the season finishes.
he could end up coming back for a semi-final or a final or something if
Yeah.
we can get him back.
Plus the third week of September, isn't it?
Saints, in this Saints cast game, I have to say, the James Roby crusher tackle was a shocker.
And he didn't get banned because he plays for St Helens.
But he jumped off his feet and landed on it.
Yeah.
It was the most shocking one I've seen this season. And I looked at it, I thought, he's going to get 4 games. He should have got 4 games.
But he didn't.
He didn't get banned. He didn't get 1 game. He knew what he was doing. He jumped up, forcefully pushed down, and went. And I don't care what you say. Anybody say, "Oh, he's not that sort of player." Well, he did it. The video evidence is there that he did it. He left his feet, and you know when you're going down. It might not be in his head that's what he's trying to do, but that's what he's physically done.
Yeah.
Castleford.
Well, they're struggling, aren't they? Losing games left, right, and centre.
They don't make the playoffs.
No, they're going to be mid-table, aren't they?
Talk of Gale to Leeds.
Also, Gale said he might be coming back before the end of the season.
Well, he should be back before the end of the year. It wasn't a season-ending injury.
So what about the salary cap suspension? What did they do there?
They've not used it yet.
Okay.
That's why they said
Chase Blair.
Yeah, Chase Blair was just brought in to replace somebody else. It wasn't to do with.
Fair enough. That's
wasn't
fine.
to do
I've
with
got no problems with that.
Luke Gale.
Saints, as I say, they were absolutely outstanding. Again, they've got so many good players. Johnny Lomax, for one. Theo Farge, Lachlan Coat out the back. They've got the forwards, Luke Thompson, Alex Walmsley. Walmsley versus Liam Watts.
Walmsley won.
Well, Walmsley didn't win it, absolutely annihilated.
You talk about Theo Farge there. There's another interesting subplot. Lots of talk that Theo Farge will be at Castleford next year to replace Luke Gale. So
interesting. I love this time of year. Rumours are plenty, ain't they?
Merry-go-round. Yeah.
What did we make of the Magic Weekend then? The first time they took the concept to Liverpool, Anfield, world's famous ground. Go on.
I might have liked it if we hadn't played an international game there a few months ago and we all went.
I went to the Cop, didn't we? Me, you'll fresh you can.
Yeah, so it's one of the. It wasn't interesting for me. We went and did the day, turned up, rocked up halfway through towards the end of the Wakefield Catalan.
Stole then buggered off.
Left at the final whistle. And suffered through all the games on TV. I think if you're going to do Magic Weekend, and people have said, "Oh, well, it's the second worst attended one." It's going to be because not all the other ones have had derbies and games specifically designed to attract.
What about the fact that we had London not witness just 2,000 or 3,000 to Newcastle?
You've got that as well. You do
top, what 10?
You automatically though, right? If those games had been derbies, you would have got more people turning up.
Yeah, of course you would have. Yeah.
Now we talk about the derby concept being diluted and not wanting as many of them. I was ready for Magic to finish. It's not going to finish because they've just signed another 3-year deal with Dacia to sponsor it. But I believe we will end up at Tottenham next year for Magic, which I'm looking forward to. That I will go more for the ground than anything. But I would say if they want to attract more people and they want to do it properly, then you have to play the derby games, the more attractive game.
An Up the Cream podcast with Trevor Gibbons on SoundCloud, soundcloud.com/Up the Cream. What? The website as well, upthecream.co.uk. It's the only fanzine in rugby league. Get me a obligatory plug in there. He said the Magic Weekend needs to decide what it is, and it's a great point. And I say it's his point, it's not mine. I'm not stealing his thunder, but I agree with everyone he said. He said they need to decide what Magic Weekend is. Is it just another away game, which it is when you take it to places like Manchester, Liverpool? Is it a weekend away, i.e. Cardiff, Newcastle? And then is it there to expand the game? When it was in Newcastle got behind it. They had a good attendance for the Friday night game, Newcastle Thunder. They got 4,000 last year against Bradford. No, Bradford bought the best part of 1,000 to 1,500, but still, great attendance. Attendance that Newcastle won't get on any other given day. Amateur clubs in Newcastle, the Geordies got behind it. I always talk about them. Cramlington, they took hundreds of kids, to the Magic Weekend to watch it. Great attendances. The record Magic Weekend attendance for a day and the weekend is at Newcastle. Different years. They got 40,000 on a Saturday in 2015, but then the 2016 aggregate beat, the overall one from 2015. So we need to decide what it is. Do you take it to a new venue to expand the game? Do you take it somewhere where it effectively, what is Liverpool for your St Helens and your Warringtons? It's like us going to North Cave. It's like going from Hull to Beverley. A push Hull to Driffield. It's nothing.
I see why they did it. It was they've used it to try and promote the game, and also they got 50 grand, I think, didn't they, from Liverpool?
Apparently, yeah. Liverpool paid more money.
But by associating rugby league with Anfield and providing a platform, for people to go. I sort of understand that. I understand the logic behind the thinking and where you can go. I agree completely with what your mate Trevor says, that there's two ways of looking at it, isn't there? If you're looking to grow the game, then you have 3 years at any given place. Like
3 years at Tottenham would work for me. Let's get the Southern lot behind it.
And grow the game. And do it that way. And which is why Tottenham does work. And I do think all these things you talked about Newcastle, if we'd have carried it on and continued at Newcastle, you risk Bennett. What's the point? You've already established it. You've introduced the game. If it's not going to click on after 3 years of doing that and putting,
can we not take a big event there next?
Yeah,
what, Challenge Cup semi-final double header?
I agree. Well, we're going to need to find somewhere, aren't we? I mean, they're not going to be able to hold it at Bolton, which was the original plan.
Well, Bolton's the plan this year. All right, hypothetically speaking, no disrespect for the teams that I won't mention here. What if you'll get St Helens, Warrington, Hull, and Bradford? Bradford will travel to Bolton for a semi-final.
Yeah, of course. No, but
each of those teams.
What I'm saying about Bolton, the reason you want at Bolton is because Bolton Wanderers about to go into liquidation, and then there's issues with who will own that ground and things like that. It's highly unlikely that the semi-finals will be able to be played at Bolton.
Right. Okay.
So that's already come out. The Rugby League have said on the back of Magic that they have a backup plan. I believe the backup plan is probably Anfield.
Of course.
So let's see where we go. But I agree with you. I mean, say you get those teams, right? Say you get your St Helens, you get your Warrington, you get your Hull, you get your Bradford. These are teams who will bring lots of fans. And I would say if it's a semi-final, particularly given you're going to have Warrington and Saints there, it's highly likely you'll get more people at Anfield for a double header for those two semi-finals than you got at Magic.
That's fair.
I reckon you'll get 40,000, 50,000 in.
You reckon?
Yeah, between the 14. Particularly, right, Bradford will take 5,000 of the fort. Hull will probably take a similar number. And then you've got...
to Doncaster, isn't it?
Yeah, then you've got... Well, yeah, it's not...
Doncaster's
given where
50
we're at.
minutes, though, yeah. Not even that if you step on
Say
it.
5 and 5 as a... So there's you got 10,000 there. I reckon you're looking at between 10 and 15,000 from both Saints and Warrington, looking at their crowd. Probably Saints, definitely. Warrington, between 5 and 10. Maybe 40,000.
What is it, 11 miles from St Helens to Anfield?
Yeah. Like
if tickets are reasonably priced, 20 quid, there's no excuses.
And on that note, I'm just going to say I picked up my Challenge Cup quarter-final ticket yesterday.
That was a joke.
15 quid for an adult, 12 quid for a senior citizen. Freshie got a senior citizen. And the lad got his free with his pass, scanned on there. I don't think that's bad for
No, I'm not just joking. The joke was me and my old man tried to do them online to get the £3 discount last night, and whoa, stressful.
Can you manage it?
In the end, yeah. Why can't you just go into the flipping ticket office and get 3 tickets, 3 adults? Well, Dad's in a way pay the cake on that. So 2 adults and a senior citizen. Feels great calling me Dad back now. And
it means you're older as well, though.
Yeah, true. I'm pushing 30 now. You're pushing 40 though. So when I'm 30, you'll be 40.
Yeah, cheers, Dan.
So yeah, it's something that really annoys me. Why can't you just count up your change, go into...
For those who don't know, the Stadium Management Committee at Hull FC have all of a sudden mid-season whacked £3 on any transaction that you put through.
In the ground.
In the ground.
In the ticket office.
For the ticket office. So if you go and buy your ticket... Like I did, I paid £3. I got a £3 charge on there. It was 15 quid for me, 15 quid for Ian's Mrs. Wendy, 12 quid for Ian, and I paid 8 quid for an extra junior one as well for one of my other lads to go. And then I got a junior one free, but there was that £3 charge on top. But the pricing of the tickets, I always wanted to make the point. I thought that it was really good.
Yeah,
exactly what you want to do to encourage
especially
people.
from Hull FC, bearing in mind that the Allams take a big percentage of that. The Allams own Hull City Association Football Club and the Stadium Management Company. And for anyone who hasn't come across the Allams, they're a big set of absolute twats.
My point about if we go to a big stadium, though, just to take it back there, if there is this double semi-final, it might end up being Catalans and OKR and people like that there and Wakefield. If you go to a big stadium and you're going to take 4 teams for a double header, you need to appropriately price the tickets.
So 54,000 for me, that's a bit too much, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree. I'm sort of the agreement that Doncaster would be... Say we got Bradford. Doncaster would be perfect.
Yeah, but we aren't going to get Bradford. No. If we get through
we've got St Helens, haven't we?
St Helens or Warrington. There's no way in hell it'll be Hull v Bradford. Saints Wire final. That's what they'll want.
That's the way.
Not that you can tell we're pessimistic. FC fans here.
We're being a bit optimistic, thinking we're going through, aren't we?
Yeah. History don't lie though. 2013 we had to play Wire. Wigan got London. 2005 we had to play Saints. Leeds got bloody Toulouse when Toulouse went. No, not the Toulouse that we see now.
Another good performance from Toulouse on that note this week.
Yeah.
Tell you what, I really want Toulouse in Super League next year. Over to
I've said it all the time. I love the French game. France is expansionism for me. That it's brilliant to see Catalans.
I want to see Jonathan Ford and Matt Corral playing Super League. That's what I want.
And Toronto, I don't buy it. Sorry. Yeah, I've said it before. Buy me a Johnny.
Club.
Yeah, buy me a Johnny a flat cab. Put Frankenstein on it. That's what they are.
No,
they're not self-sufficient. They've got. I mean, that Toronto fan that famously commented on our Facebook said it'll be 20 years before they can integrate a reserve league.
That was our point. He made our point for us.
Exactly. Just bugger off, Toronto. I don't buy that. I do not buy that at all.
Right. Hopefully you've enjoyed Moot Pies and Shots this week. A little bit different. If you haven't enjoyed it, please tell us. If you have enjoyed it, please subscribe. Thank you.
Coming up, it's there.